Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. This week, Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me to unpack manganese as an EV metal, a kickstart for junior mining, and approval for Mantashe's appointment. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Ashley.
Now, manganese could take center stage in the battery electric vehicle arena. Tell us about that.
Yes, electric vehicles are on the lips of particularly young geologists because they're wanting to know what sort of metals they should search for. And it's a difficult game because you never know which metal is going to suddenly hit the high spots and which technology will be adopted. But it was great news from Junior Ndaba this week that manganese is looking very well positioned and it's poised for strong development because it can, particularly in the cathode formulations of the electric vehicle, where most of the metals are used, the heaviest concentration of metals, it can play a very big role there. The problem with cobalt, which is the favored metal, is that it comes out of a single country and it's also clouded with certain issues around ethical issues. So people are looking beyond that, and there's a race, we heard, at Junior Ndaba, between manganese, between nickel and aluminium, and cobalt, of course, trying to hold its own there because there are other sources of cobalt. But perhaps they can bring manganese in, and the company doing it, from Nelspruit is well established, and it has been supplying, the beneficiated manganese into the high-tech arenas for some time. It's 45 years old, and they expressed this possibility that they can actually get into electric vehicles, which will be wonderful for South Africa because we've got an abundance of high-quality manganese here, and if we can get into that market where we see it's still at an early stage, the percentage of electric vehicles, EV as they call them, to the normal combustion engine is still small, relatively small. And then on the horizon, which was also raised at the Junior Ndaba, was the hydrogen fuel cell. That could take a different niche. They're both looking at combining with renewable energy. So for your EV or electric vehicle to be 100% green, you need to be fed by clean energy. But that'll also create an opportunity for manganese because there is a battery in the car and there's a battery outside of the car in your home, and you could have the battery in the car having manganese and the storage battery having manganese. So they would be pushing for greenness, to get that both markets going. And the bigger vehicle side, and was raised at Junior Ndaba, but with less emphasis, was the hydrogen fuel cell. And there we also see major potential for platinum group metals, but platinum in particular. And that is music to the ears of South Africans because we really need to push that. And who knows where the technology is going to go and whether these wonderful platinum group metals will find all sorts of other niches. But at the moment, people are just asking questions, querying, and Standard Bank Group were there, and they're saying they're getting a lot of questions around which strategic metals are going to win this race because the investors want to get involved and they also want to get involved. So it's a period of transition, which is always difficult, but during those periods of transition, you walk on both sides of the road. So, platinum and platinum group metals really doing well because, particularly palladium, because you've got the situation where petrol engines favor palladium, but there's always a suggestion that platinum is actually better. So if it's lower priced at the moment, why not enter that space? So debating like crazy at the moment. And then on the other side of the road is which metal is going to win this new race. And it's difficult for investors and it's difficult for particularly explorers because, you don't want to spend too much money on something. But what was incredible was the company that presented from Zimbabwe, how quickly they accelerated, the prospecting right, the exploration, the development, the mine, and the market. Like rapid lightning speed. The government did what it normally takes years to do in like 100 days, and then it enabled the company to really start producing fast and secure a 7-year lithium agreement lithium supply agreement with a Chinese company, which was actually part of the group. So just shows you, if the government puts its mind to it, you can really speed these red tape things up, and we hope that they take a bit of an example from the special acceleration that they got involved in Zimbabwe, because they're so desperate for foreign exchange.
And moving to junior mining, the sector is in need of policy framework.
Yes, this was emphasized there, that it needs a kickstart. I mean, we saw that they thought, this government of South Africa thought, well, the minerals, well, it wasn't energy at that stage, mineral resources, we've done a wonderful thing. We've made it easy for people to start investing in exploration because we've done away with the empowerment requirement. But, what they regard as an explorer, the level there, the threshold, is still too low. I mean, this is an expensive business. You've got to give people confidence, because who in their right mind is going to go and start drilling there? I mean, people are, most people say, hey, you're crazy, man. What are you doing? This is a high-risk area. Why must I give you money? I'd rather go into agriculture or something. It's just too high risk, and that penny hasn't dropped. So the message that you got in Junior Ndaba is, okay, you made these fantastic announcements last year, but what has changed? You don't see people going into this industry, because perhaps we should ask the government and the officials who do this, if they were a small little entrepreneur, would they put their money in? Not a chance. It's just, there's no incentive. And then they do acknowledge that if you don't have this exploration, you're not going to have the mining industry. So they say, be patient with us. Perhaps there are political considerations at the moment, but the longer we wait, the longer it's going to take, because as they outlined there, you virtually got to explore for 5 years, then you start developing for 5 years. That's 10 years already. You only start reaping benefits like in the next 5 years. So that's 15 years. Are we going to add another 15 years to this, or are we going to do something like what Zimbabwe did with lithium and just speed it up? And what you normally do the guy said what they normally do in 10 years. I suppose he was exaggerating a bit. They did in 100 days. And that just sped the whole thing up to production. They actually knew the lithium was there. It was just a question of getting it out the ground and getting it to the market. And that's another attitude we've got to have. You pull it out the ground fast, you put it in the train, and you get it to the port, because that's what you've got to do with a lot of these metals, particularly those that are now strategic metals in the new strategic areas of technology. You've got to move fast, because it could change fast.
And lastly, Gwede Mantashe's appointment as Mineral Resources and Energy Minister has been welcomed.
Yes, the independent power producers, their association is just looking now for leadership from a department like the Mineral Resources and Energy. And, which direction are they going to go in this? Are they going to really do the calculations and see which is the most economic route to go? Or are they going to look at political considerations? Are they going to look at people who say, look, although this is inappropriate and we can't get loans for it, oh no, we've got to stick to this and we've got to promote it. We heard that message from the Minister, Gwede Mantashe. I think he is playing politics. I hope he is playing politics, because it didn't make economic sense. When he said, we must go for coal mining, we must go for uranium mining, I presume, because he says we must continue with nuclear, and we must have this broad church. At this point in time, I think he needs to say which is the most economic, because with coal mining at the moment, you've got to keep it going where it is, and you've got to make sure you've got coal, but at the same time, you are in a global constraint. The banks, they are turning their back on this. They don't want to give you extra money. So where are they going to get the money from? If they want to have a new coal mine, is it going to come from private equity, smaller little bursts? We see that, there are smaller entities coming through, and it's necessary at the moment. Are they linked to what quality coal we need? What is going on in that industry? Because from the export point of view, we're still making a lot of money from coal, and we will continue. And you've got to continue with the coal. Nuclear, I mean, I don't know. If they've got a modular version that's small, maybe we can look at it, but wow, it's a lot of money. You've got to invest there. That's the capital investment initially is huge. Afterwards, your operating costs go down. But who's going to jump over that? And then why not also give a little bit more emphasis to the sun and the wind, which Mr. Gwede Mantashe tended to de-emphasize at this junior Indaba. Maybe he's still got to talk to all the people involved to say, look, this is proven, the cheapest way to do it. It not only cleans the air, but it's the economic route, and it's job rich. You know, what about this? Come on, guys. And it's a different sort of a job. We don't want this old way of working here where you have a mine and then you have lodgings. You don't have the family. You know, this destroys the whole fabric. Whereas when you come with the renewable energy, sun and wind, it's a different type of employment. It's a normalized type of employment, and it's a cut above. You know, so why not do this in a meaningful way that you can actually harness the sun and wind, and people talk about some gas as well, in a way that really is job rich, and it sets this economy going, and it takes you down the cost curve, you know, which these independent power producers, they need at the moment, and they need some strong direction. It's not happening. If one examines what was said at the junior Indaba, it was flabbergasting. So I don't know how we get moving on this with, you know, Gwede Mantashe now in charge of energy. Under Jeff Radebe, we thought, wow, we're going. Now all of a sudden he's pulling back. I don't know whether it's political reasons. I hope so. But you can't delay for too long.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.